Prototype was a game that I absolutely loved playing when I was a kid, and that was mainly due to having the ability to just mindlessly slaughter anyone I wanted with a plethora of powers to choose from that all takes place in a big open world Manhattan. To me, that was so much fun. Well, today I do still like to occasionally do those things, however I am more of a completionist in case you couldn't tell, and this game has been one that I have wanted to obtain the platinum trophy for some time now. Starting this, I thought it would have been easy. Going from my memories as a kid, it wasn't that difficult of a game, but let me tell you right now, I could not have been more wrong. Like, clearly I must have been like on crack or something. This was so difficult, and I can certainly say this has to be one of the harder platinum trophies that I have gone for, and I've gone for a few difficult ones. It's stressful, it pisses you off, and sometimes it'll even make you cry. If you're playing this on easy, I can't lie, it's a breeze. For a normal playthrough, it's relatively okay, couple of hard points here and there, but it's not terrible. But boy oh boy, hard mode is hard, man. I sat there for 2.5 hours on a single boss fight, and I couldn't quit it. I had no option but to beat the boss. That, or I have to start all over again and invest in some more powers, and for me, that was not an option. But we will get into all of my heartache and pain later on in the video. Now, for any of you guys that are wondering, PSN Profiles rates this a difficulty of 8 out of 10, with it taking a minimum of 3 playthroughs, although it can be done in 2 if you're just that good, with about 45 hours to completion, which is about right as it took me 43. Now, to platinum this game, I broke it down into a few steps to use as a guideline throughout my journey. The first step was simple: beat the game's story mode on normal, enjoy myself, familiarise myself with the controls again and how the game works, and hopefully unlock a few miscellaneous trophies along the way. Step 2 was to then go back through the game on easy plus with no deaths and without consuming any civilians for those 2 respective trophies, and then for step 3 I was going to use that easy plus save to clean up the entire map, getting all of the collectibles, platinuming all of the events, consuming all of the Web of Intrigue targets, and using this difficulty to get any of the other miscellaneous trophies that we have left, before finally moving on to our final step, which was to complete the game on hard mode, unlocking our final trophy and giving us the platinum. Anyway guys, with all of that out of the way, let's start this journey. We begin the game as Alex Mercer, a killer, a monster, a terrorist, but most importantly an absolute badass with a sick set of powers, and immediately we are thrown into combat where we get to take Alex at his most powerful for a little test drive, a prototype run, if you will. Obviously this part of the game acts as the tutorial, and we get to learn all of the combat moves, and we also get introduced to the 2 main enemy factions of the game, the Blackwater soldiers and the infected. After dealing with all of the soldiers, we are then taken back 18 days earlier where we find our dear Alex laying on a table in the Gentek morgue, which, can I just say, how the hell were they planning on doing anything to a guy that's fully dressed? Like, I'm no professional in that sector, but I'm sure this isn't how you typically do things. But hey, what do I know? Just as our main man is about to be opened up, he opens his eyes, sending the scientists running and calling in a kill team. Alex escapes the building but shortly gets gunned down. Realising that it's had little effect on his body, he uses that as his chance to escape. We continue to run from and take out a few of the Blackwater soldiers before Alex eventually can't take any more and collapses in an alley. It's not long though before a soldier finds him and puts one in his head for good measure. Although, much like a minute ago, proves absolutely futile as Alex just gets up and proceeds to slam his face into the ground before consuming his body and taking on the soldier's appearance. We then do the same thing to his friend, where Alex discovers that through consuming his enemies, he gains valuable knowledge. Everything they know, he will now know, and this time he manages to find out that his sister Dana is being held nearby, and we make our way over to her apartment to save her. Upon getting there, we find her block swarming with Blackwater soldiers, and so we use our newly obtained disguise to get into her apartment unnoticed. Once in there, we save her from yet another soldier, where she reveals to us that Alex had actually asked her to reset Gentek and its higher level personnel to find out what's been going on, and after heading to her safe house, suggests we head to our own apartment to see what else we can find. We get to Alex's apartment and come across a photo of Alex and a blonde haired woman, but before he can recollect who she was, house, we discover the apartment was under surveillance and Alex is blasted out of the window. But don't worry, we took care of the guys responsible, which also gained us access to the web of intrigue, and from here on out we will occasionally come across targets that are connected to each other through this web of intrigue, and consuming these will allow us to gain further knowledge of the outbreak, ourselves, as well as various other things. There are also multiple trophies connected to this web of intrigue, including having us find and consume every single target on the list, and there is a hell of a lot. Some are optional and some are story related, so we can't miss them, but we will worry about that later, as now we unlock our very first trophy. Okay, what upgrades do I want? Well, this is only 100, so we might as well buy that. Okay, and we get another trophy, evolutionary step. Use the upgrade menu to acquire an upgrade. We return to Dana, where she tells us that she's found our laptop and she's been snooping around. Thankfully, she never found our secret porn folder, but did find a photo of a girl named Elizabeth Green that was being held captive at Gentek. And then we begin to make our way over there to pay her a little visit. While making our way there, we find out that Blackwatch has set up a base in Manhattan and that its biological warfare specialist Captain Cross accepts a contract from General Randall and Colonel Taggart to capture Alex, codenamed Zeus. We eventually arrive at Gentek and get to the 51st floor. This place is a mess. Bodies are everywhere, with Elizabeth Green in the centre of the room. We ask her some questions in hope to get some answers, however that ends with her slamming us up against the wall, saying she's our mother and making her escape. We then get thrown out of the building by some hunters and decide to take them to a nearby military base to trap them inside. Once there, we end up consuming one of the hunters that were following us, and this allowed Alex to shift his biomass, giving us access to the claws power. After having some fun with my first power, we blow up the base, make our escape, and unlock our third trophy of the game. With Elizabeth Green now on the loose and with the infection accelerating rapidly, Alex is desperate to find a cure, and Dana puts us on the path of our former girlfriend Karen Parker, who just so happened to work at Gentek with us. We get to Karen's apartment, but due to it being quarantined off due to the infection, we agree that it's best to get her out of the quarantine zone first before we focus on the infection itself. At this point, we head over to one of the military bases and consume one of the tank and APC drivers. Doing this now gives us the ability to drive both of those ground vehicles, and we now have to use one of these to pick up Karen and take her to the safe house. After getting her to the safe house, she agrees to help us find a cure and asks us to get some genetic material from some of the infected water towers and hives around Manhattan. Not going to say much about this one, it was really easy and I didn't actually put a lot of effort in. However, it does introduce us to the infected water towers, and there is a trophy related to destroying 25 of these before they hatch, so we will be doing that as we progress through the game. But for right now, remember a second ago I said this was really easy? Well, while doing this, I actually managed to get the Hearth Truce trophy for completing a mission without a single military alert. We then discover that the USS Reagan is docked nearby, and Alex believes they are here with supplies and reinforcements for Raymond McMullen. We get to work on trying to track him down, and while doing so, take this opportunity to destroy any viral detectors near Dana's safe house, as well as their new advanced UAV drones, which have a much quicker detection rate. Dana then tells us that she believes we can get to McMullen if we head to one of the hives that he is going to be deployed at. We then head to one of these hives and proceed to sabotage the viral detectors around it, indicating that the area is clear, and after sabotaging all of them, we radio in for McMullen to arrive. However, as his helicopter is about to land, the infected decide they want to come out for some fresh air, causing them to abort their landing and fly away. We are then forced to make our escape and proceed to the next mission. While on our way there, I did manage to pop a couple of trophies. First was the cleanup trophy for killing 15 characters with a single whip fist attack. Oh, and there we go, cleanup trophy unlocked. Kill 15 characters with a single whip fist attack. Easy. And the second was the speed bumps trophy for running over a total of 500 characters in a single tank. And there we go, speed bumps trophy unlocked. Run over 500 characters in a single tank. We then meet back up with Karen that believes the key to finding the cure is to collect samples of the viral strands produced inside of the infected hives. She then takes a moment to tell us that she is sorry that it had to play out like this. Bit weird, but we disregard it and proceed to head to the hive. Once inside the hive, we begin collecting the material when all of a sudden Captain Cross himself rappels down into the hive and tells us to choose our friends more carefully. Yeah, that bitch double-crossed us. It's boss fight time and it was time to deal with Cross. This fight wasn't too long overall. There's a couple of stages where he will occasionally jump out for a few minutes, leaving us to deal with the infected, but eventually he does end up jumping back in with his other boys to try and take us down. As much as I'd love to say he didn't have much luck with that, that wasn't the case. You know they say sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me? Well, think again, because just by mentioning Penn Station, Alex is brought to his knees, allowing Cross to get behind him and inject him with a cancer. Extremely weakened, we just about managed to make our escape and discover that we no longer have access to any of our biomass powers and are left with no choice but to continue to run. We also unlock the Errand Boy trophy for completing the specialist boss fight. We meet back up with Dana and tell her of what we know about Elizabeth Green, as well as what happened in her hometown of Hope, Idaho. Refusing to believe us, however, we tell her that we have actually found out this information through the people that we have been consuming. Although we thought it was some pretty good intel, she wasn't happy at the fact we were just eating people willy-nilly and told us to find Dr. Ragland and use him to help us find a cure for our cancer. On our way there, we consume a few more military personnel and unlock the SME trophy for getting the ability to drive and fly all vehicles. We eventually find Ragland and he tells us that he will need access to Patient Zero and the first victims of the outbreak in order to create a cure. We proceed to consume various military personnel until we discover the location of the bodies. We then protect him while he collects some samples and eventually all of our hard work was paid off. Raglan then hands us a syringe and tells us that if we infect a hunter and then consume it, it may just be able to cure the cancerous parasite feeding on our body. At this point we will try absolutely anything, and it wasn't long before we were back in action, this time with a few more powers and stronger than before. We also unlock the Mankind is Your Mask trophy for completing 3 missions without raising a military alert while doing this.
I'm back. Let me know when they're clear. Hit it again. Over.
And while making our way over to the next mission, we infiltrate our 10th military base disguised as a commander for the Infiltrator trophy. Shortly after regaining our powers, we head back to Dana to discuss what Dr. Ragland had told us about the virus, but before we get a chance to do so, a new kind of hunter breaks through the wall and makes off with our sister. We try to pursue the hunter to stop him, however he is far too powerful and fast for us to catch, and he manages to escape.
Dana! No!
Raglan then tells us that he believes this hunter has taken on the role of a leader, and with the help of Raglan we discover that all of the infected are connected to one big hive mind, and that consuming one of these leader hunters may help us locate the central hive. We eventually manage to trap and consume one of these hunters, giving us enhanced vision and allowing us to distinguish infected carriers and individuals from non-infected ones. Using this and the military's highly advanced arsenal of weapons, we manage to track down and break into the central hive where we find Elizabeth Green. We confront her on the location of our sister, and I assume you can already guess how that turned out. We end up getting into a fight and manage to inject her with the same cancer we were injected with, but her body rejects the cancer and she then proceeds to regurgitate, spawning a new form of infected hunter. This was a Supreme Hunter, and it was also boss fight time again. This one wasn't too difficult, it took me a few tries granted, and it did pack a bit of a punch. It also had access to a couple of the abilities that we had access to, which also made it that little bit more deadly, but its attack patterns had quite a lengthy recovery rate, so that was the time I used to get the majority of damage in. During the boss fight, some Blackwatch troops and tanks also managed to make their way in, and we actually used that to our advantage in taking the hunter down. Eventually though, we take down the Supreme Hunter, unlocking us the Children of Blacklight trophy. After taking the hunter down, we find a very unconscious Dana and take her to Dr. Ragland, who tells us that she is stable but unresponsive and suggests we continue to hunt for the cure. This leads us to a mysterious phone call at one of the phone booths, where the caller goes on to tell us that 40 years ago, Black Watch had moved into the town of Hope, Idaho to begin Project Red Light. This project involved studying the Black Light virus on animals before eventually moving on to human subjects, which eventually resulted in the virus finding the perfect host, Elizabeth Green, which Gentech eventually started researching in order to genetically alter living things.
Rewrite living creatures. Sound familiar?
He then goes on to tell us that we ourselves are not human and that we are actually the Black Light virus. Alex Mercer died at Penn Station and we are now its host. He suggests we infiltrate one of the Black Watch command posts, so in order to do this we took on the role of a pilot and proceed to provide backup and extract military squads under heavy resistance. Once all of the squads were extracted, we headed back to their base where we discovered troops getting debriefed about the deployment of blood tox. Turns out our boy Alex here doesn't do too well when inhaling that stuff in, causing him to raise alert and being confronted with a new type of soldier. These big boys are annoying, they're relentless, and they have this annoying grab where you have a short amount of time to press the corresponding button before he proceeds to destroy your shit. We eventually deal with them though, make our escape, and then our mysterious contact informs us of further deployment locations of these blood tox blowers. 9 in total, and with that knowledge in hand we proceed to make our way to each one and destroy it. Relatively easy, especially if you're like me and decided to hijack a tank, making this mission an absolute breeze, and while doing this I actually take down my 10th hive for another trophy. After dealing with the blood tox pumpers, our contact then tells us that we should be building up a small immunity to the blood tox and that they have seen an increased number of infected building up underneath the city to avoid the blood tox. Seeing as Elizabeth Green would likely be underground, Alex agrees to disguise himself as a Black Watch and help them escort a blood tox pumper throughout a heavily overrun streets of Manhattan to Times Square. Once at Times Square, we begin a pretty lengthy defend section. We have to fight multiple waves of increasingly difficult enemies until the pump can fully disperse the blood tox. Eventually though, we of course manage to complete this section, and we actually use one of the final waves of enemies to obtain the return fire trophy for catching an object thrown at us by a Hydra and throwing it back at it.
Get them off the pump! Check fire!
Now the blood tox was fully dispersed underground, this causes Elizabeth Green to make a reappearance, but this time you'll see that she is completely transformed into a grotesque looking creature known as Mother, and this time we were going to take her down. Now this fight was pretty difficult, even for normal difficulty. The main problem I had was the constant flow of hunters. They literally did not stop coming and you'd have zero chance of getting any decent damage in with them after you. Then we had Elizabeth's absolutely ridiculous set of attacks. She can hit you with her tendrils if you get too close. She has access to a massive AoE attack that deals insane damage. She can fire a stream of rocks at you with absolute precision, and she has these crazy green acid-like balls that deal decent amount of damage, and all of that really lengthens out this boss fight. You get barely enough time to get any decent amount of damage in as it is, as you're constantly having to duck away and grab some health. I will say one good thing though is this mission did come in handy for getting my consumed enemy count up, as during this fight we unlock the Endless Hunger trophy for consuming a total of 200 characters to boost our health. And before long we take down the mutated Green, unlocking the On Instinct trophy. And revealing her human form, which Alex proceeds to absolutely demolish, consuming her and learning everything she knew. We then notice that the military units are retreating, and we come to the realization that the area is about to be completely neutralized and decide we need to stop it. Meanwhile, Red Crown Command headquarters are being overrun with infected, and General Randall is furious at Colonel Taggart for ordering a retreat, which then leads to the General ordering Captain Cross to bring Taggart back to the USS Reagan in 4 hours, or it will be out of his hands. Back as Mercer, we head towards our next mission, and on our way there we purchase the Patsy ability, which we then use on 5 military personnel. We basically accuse them of being infected and watch as their comrades gun them down for our pleasure. Doing this also unlocks the It's Him trophy.
Not so fast, you son of a bitch!
Our contact then informs us of a blood tox facility located in the city that is pumping blood tox into the air, and that taking out the 8 filters should neutralise the facility and allow us to get close to McMullen. We head to the facility and proceed to take out the filters, and after doing so decide to take the fall and get captured by Blackwatch in order to get some alone time with our target. We end up getting taken to McMullen's lab, where we get to confront him on what he knows. Now, I don't know why Alex didn't just straight up consume him, as rather than spill his secrets, McMullen commits suicide and now Alex gets nothing. Nice job, mate. Shortly after, we come face to face with our contact, who is revealed to be Captain Cross. Cross explains to us that Taggart is willing to do anything to stop the infection, even going as far as to nuke the whole of Manhattan, and that is why Cross had requested our help. He tells us that Taggart is planning to escape Manhattan and tasks us with preventing his ability to. We do this by first taking out all of the helicopters in the city capable of evacuating Taggart, which leads him to ordering his troops to set up roadblocks throughout the city, allowing him to escape by land. We head to a nearby transport base and proceed to bring it down in the hope of preventing his transport from escaping, and while doing so unlock the repossession trophy for hijacking a total of 50 vehicles. We take the base down, however his transport is able to make an escape, and we proceed to chase him throughout the city. While chasing him, Taggart tries to stop us by using the numerous tanks and sentry turrets placed at the roadblocks, but all of this was completely useless and pointless, as this didn't stop him from becoming our next meal. We consume the Colonel and use our new disguise to infiltrate the USS Reagan. Cross then escorts us to General Randall, who immediately shoots us in the head, not realising that we are actually Mercer. Cross then asks the General about what will happen to his men on the ground, which then causes the General to turn on him, pointing his gun at Cross. We then reveal ourselves to be Mercer, where we discover that the countdown for the nuke has already started and only the General knows the code. So of course, there's only one way to get it. It's lunchtime. At this point, Cross then turns on us and turns out that he has some cool powers too. It's then revealed to us that Cross is actually the Supreme Hunter. You see, back at the core hive when we escaped with Dana, we stepped in the Supreme Hunter's blood puddle, causing a biological reaction allowing the Hunter to regenerate. He then killed the captain back at Red Cross headquarters and has been in disguise ever since. It was now time for our final boss fight of the story. Can't lie, with how hard the Elizabeth Green boss fight was, I expected this to be twice as difficult, but it was actually surprisingly easy. Don't get me wrong, this guy deals a lot of damage, and when he uses his Devastator attack, it can easily kill you at full health if you're standing too close. Although for a good portion of the fight we have a constant flow of Blackwatch troops in the arena, so we don't really have to struggle for health. And as long as I kept my distance and attacked during his recovery, it didn't take too long at all before we were at his final phase. This phase was the only part that did cause me a few issues. This was because we had a time limit to finish him off, otherwise it was game over. Like I said, he can deal a decent amount of damage, and this time there's no troops around to regen health, so if you're nearly dead, you have no option but to retreat to partially regen some of your health, wasting precious time. Eventually though, and after a couple of tries, we finally kill the Supreme Hunter, completing the final mission and unlocking the 1000 Suns trophy.
4, 3, 2.
Now, with Alex realising there wasn't enough time to stop the nuke from detonating, he takes the chopper and flies out to the ocean far from the city, where he drops it in the water, hoping it's enough to prevent Manhattan from being completely annihilated. As we fly away from the bomb, it detonates, causing a nuclear explosion, catching Alex in the process. Don't worry though, this isn't his end. He ends up as a bloody lump of biomass on the shore of Manhattan and pulls the Ultima Uno reverse card on a crow and consumes him to start regenerating.
I looked for the truth. Found it. Didn't like it. Wish the hell I could forget it.
So there we go, guys. That's the main story of Prototype finally complete. Absolutely amazing game. I'm so glad I took the time to come back and play through this after like so many years. A little bit more difficult than I actually remember, but I think I've just got like accustomed to how easy and catered a lot of games are nowadays. Nevertheless, though, I thoroughly enjoyed my time going back through this game, and now I guess we should start our new playthrough and go through without dying and killing any civvies for those trophies, so hopefully that doesn't take too long. Okay, so just before we start the new game, seeing as I've got like the ability to now, I guess, I thought I'd go ahead and get the Butcher trophy done and out of the way. It's for killing 50 characters in 5 seconds, so hopefully this tank ride is going to let me do that. Wish me luck, hopefully it don't take too long. And there we go, guys, the Butcher trophy unlocked. Kill 50 characters in 5 seconds. Didn't take too long at all. Had to drive around for a couple of minutes, but we eventually got it done. Nice, that's out of the way. We can get started with this new playthrough. With that now out of the way, guys, it was time to start our New Game Plus Easy playthrough, with our main objective being to finish the story without dying and while consuming less than 10 civilians, which would unlock us the Hard to Kill trophy and the Nice Guy trophy. Honestly though, there isn't really a lot to say about this playthrough. Everything carries over. It was 10 times easier than my first run due to the fact that I had all the upgrades. Obviously it was easy difficulty. I did a lot of damage, the enemies didn't do a lot of damage, and I was able to breeze through this playthrough very quickly. While doing the story, I also managed to pop a couple of the miscellaneous trophies. One was the Misconception trophy for destroying 25 infected water towers before they hatch. And the other was the Surface to Air trophy for shooting down 50 helicopters while driving armour. Now, it was a bit weird because I wasn't actually driving any kind of armour like a tank or APC. I actually just used my Devastator power and got the trophy, so not sure what happened there, but not going to turn it down. We also managed to unlock the In the Web trophy for consuming 50 of the web intrigue targets as well. With our second playthrough now complete, it was time to spend the next 6 hours doing a fair bit of collectible cleanup, with the first 2 being relatively easy. This cleanup involved going around the whole of Manhattan collecting various collectibles. We had to go for all of the landmark collectibles. There were a total of 200 of them to collect in total, and they were blue glowing orbs that could be found hidden in numerous locations, sometimes out in the open and sometimes hidden away. We also needed to collect all 50 of the hint collectibles, very similar to the landmark collectibles except less for us to find, and this time they glow purple rather than blue. And the last form of collectible we were aiming to complete was to fully consume all of the Web of Intrigue targets to acquire all nodes within the Web of Intrigue. There were 131 targets in total, and like I said earlier in the video, some of these were story related and unmissable, so it was just a case of getting the ones that were left in the open world. This took up most of my time. Now, it's not that this was in any way difficult, because it wasn't. It was more annoying than anything. You see, you can't just look up a list, go location to location, consuming any target you find. Well, you can, but not the way you might think. You see, individual targets will only spawn on the map if their node in the Web of Intrigue is connected to a target that you have already consumed. If not, then they just simply won't spawn, so you are in a sense restricted to what targets you can go for at any given time. After consuming enough of these targets, we gradually discovered the truth behind what happened to Alex Mercer, the history of Elizabeth Green, and the truth of what happened in Hope, Idaho, resulting in a total of 6 trophies. So here are them popping now. While going for those collectibles, we also managed to pop a few trophies. The first was the In Plain Sight trophy for evading 10 strike teams.
Red Crown. Chalk 3 to Red Crown, cold as ice. No visual of Zeus here.
The second being the Threat Elevated trophy for taking down 25 strike teams.
Tornado 5, Red Crown to all field teams.
And thanks to all of the EP received from collectible hunting, the third was the Unnatural Selection trophy for fully upgrading Alex by purchasing and obtaining all available powers and upgrades. With all of the collectibles now out of the way, it was time to turn my attention to the absolutely insane number of side events that we needed to take part in around the map. First, we went for the easiest of these events, being the Consume event. They are linked to their own trophy, and there are a total of 26 military events to take part in and 9 infected ones to take part in. Very, very simple and easy. Didn't take long at all. For the military, we were given one of 4 different scenarios at random. This ranged from simply hunting down scientists or soldiers and consuming them, to infiltrating and even blowing up military bases. And for the infected events, all that they consisted of was pretty much just destroying an infected hive, which is nothing that we haven't done hundreds of times in this game already, so like I said, not difficult in the slightest. Finishing both of these, however, unlocks us the Brain Trust trophy. Completing these events was also really cool as well, as it allowed us to find out where Karen Parker's safe house is and take some well-earned revenge on her for ratting us out.
Oh my god. Oh my god, he's here. He's in the building.
I know.
Next up were the 53 other events that were scattered around the map for us to complete, and there were 4 different types in total. We had the glide events, which simply had us glide to a target and try to land in the center of it. Next up were the kill events, which is exactly what it sounds like, just straight up killing, and often involved using specific powers to gain a specific amount of kills within the time limit. Next are the movement events, which are essentially your standard checkpoint to checkpoint type race, with the goal obviously being to reach the end as quick as possible. And finally, the last type are the war events, which see us team up with either the infected or the military and are required to completely take out all of the enemies on the opposing side as quick as possible. Now, upon completing each event, depending on our performance, we are awarded with either a bronze, silver, gold or platinum medal. We of course need to get a gold and platinum medal on all of the events for each of their respective trophies, but this isn't as straightforward or as easy as it seems. You see, in order to be able to actually be awarded a platinum medal, you must first get a gold medal on every single event, which will then give us the ability to see the score that we need in order to get a platinum on each event. The developers were quite lenient here though, as if you manage to get the score needed for the platinum while going for gold, then as soon as you have the ability to, those events will be automatically upgraded to platinum. However, if you didn't know this and you were just purely going for gold on every event, you could easily see 53 events turn into 106. Getting all of the events gold honestly went better than I expected. Most of the events I managed to absolutely smash first time, but of course I'm not a god and there were some events that took me a few tries. Now, I thought that out of any of the events I was going to have trouble with, it would have been the movement events where we need to race through the checkpoints, as some of them are quite ridiculous. But I actually struggled the most with the kill events. It wasn't a case of dying, nor was it a case of not being able to do enough damage and get kills quick enough. It was mainly due to the fact that there were just simply never enough enemies spawning in certain events, making it physically impossible to actually get the score needed for gold. And at some points I had this crazy glitch where all of the enemies would spawn in dead, so I couldn't actually kill anyone apart from the small number of hunters or D-series soldiers that occasionally spawned. While struggling through these events though, it actually gave me the perfect opportunity to unlock a couple of trophies. The first was the Gunning trophy for destroying 20 helicopters in a single fight, which was easily done in one of the many helicopter kill events. And the second was the Wrecking Yard trophy for destroying a total of 2,000 vehicles. And of course, we do eventually manage to get gold in all of the events, unlocking us the AU trophy. Now that the gold events were finally finished, I was glad to see that we actually managed to obtain the platinum medal in a vast majority of the events. That was a big worry off of my shoulders. However, I still had around 15 or so left to re-attempt. I was able to get the platinum for most of these with relative ease, but I still continue to have problems with those damn kill events. Like, man, they are honestly so ridiculous. There are times where it was taking me nearly 30 to 45 minutes of continuous attempts on the same event, just so I was able to barely scrape my way to getting the platinum award. And the event that gave me the most trouble out of all of them was demolition, which is ridiculous seeing as we are given a tank. Come on, man, we're so close. Come on, 5 seconds. We need 15 more. Come on, where's the other people? Come on, 10, come on. Did we do it? Bro, 191, where's the other 9 people, man? Where were the other 9 people? Man, how are we almost on 30 seconds left and we're not even on a silver medal? We ain't doing this. This ain't happening. This is ridiculous. Bro, are you serious? How have we done even worse? We didn't even reach gold this time. Bro, this is ridiculous. Look at this. 117 bronze. We've got 20 something seconds left. Ridiculous. Fucking restart. I literally don't understand how you're supposed to do this, man. I actually don't. I've been sitting at this for 45 minutes. People just aren't spawning. They're like, how can I not get these extra few people? I actually feel like fucking giving up. Like, this is pissing me off so much, man. And again, couldn't even reach gold. Oh my god. I honestly just, I don't know what to do. I just don't know what to do. Yeah, my pain went on for some time, but of course your boy doesn't give up. We keep at it, and eventually my hard work pays off as we finally unlock the PT trophy for getting platinum on all events. Okay boys, come on, look, we've done it. 256, I think that was on the counter. We absolutely smashed it this time, man. Look at that, platinum. It's finally done. Oh my god. Where's my trophy? Come on, just hurry up, give me my trophy. I never want to touch these events again. Come on, where is it? There we go, PT, you've achieved platinum in all events. You are truly a prototype master. There we go, achieve a platinum medal in all events. Oh my god, I'm so glad we don't have to do any more of that. That was so damn hard. Now, I thought this would have been the last time that I saw these events. I thought I'd never have to deal with them again. Well, I was wrong, but this time it was for a stress-free reason, so I'll let it slide. You see, we had one trophy remaining before I started my playthrough of the game on hard, and that was the Trail of Corpses trophy, unlocked by killing a total of 53,596 infected. Very specific, and I'm sure there's a reason for that specific number. I've absolutely got no idea, though. I don't know why they couldn't have just rounded it to like 50,000 or 55,000 or whatever, but who cares? We got to get that many kills, and as much as I hate to say it, the Rolling Thunder kill event was the fastest way that I was going to reach that goal. This didn't actually take long at all though. I thought it was going to take a long time, but it really didn't. When I started farming the events for kills, I think I had about 13,000 or so kills in total, which you might be thinking, hold up, didn't you say you needed 53,000? An extra 40,000 on top of my current total? And to that, my friends, yes, you're correct, but with each run of Rolling Thunder, I was able to rack up roughly anywhere between 800 to 1100 kills per run, and that was only counting the infected civilians, although they made up probably 95% of the total score. Within no time at all though, and after a nice refreshing break from the stress, we unlock the Trail of Corpses trophy. And there we go, guys. Trail of Corpses, kill 53,596 infected. That means we've got one trophy left. Oh my god, we literally, all we have to do is go through hard mode now. And that's it, we got the platinum. I'm hoping it's not going to be too bad. It shouldn't be, you know, I mean, I've done all of the bosses and everything now, and I know how the game works. It should be relatively straightforward. Now, with one trophy standing in my way between me and that platinum, it was finally time to start the long-awaited hard playthrough, and believe me when I say I wasn't even remotely prepared. They aren't joking when they say hard mode, and I'd even say this is as stressful and anger-inducing as the events, possibly if not even more, but I have my own specific reasons for that. Now, unlike our easy difficulty playthrough, we wasn't able to start with all of our upgrades and abilities. This was a completely fresh save file, and we needed to start from the very beginning. But seeing as we only needed to beat the main story, my goal was to just push through the story as quickly as possible. This turned out to be a big mistake. In hard mode, you get significantly less EP for anything you do, so it takes much longer to upgrade Alex. And me being me, never thought to go around and take part in some of the easier events that I knew that I could do, and never went out of my way to collect any of the collectibles, so I was lacking in the EP department, which then meant my powers were lacking as well. Even though I'd maxed out Alex's health and invested into a few different powers, I thought that this was enough, as there isn't any upgrades that just outright increase your damage, so I didn't actually think to buy any of the other powers. I didn't use them 90% of the time. Most of the time I found myself using my blade arm or the whip fist. The other powers for me just wasn't really worth picking up. Luckily for the most part, this wasn't an issue. I managed to get through a very large portion of the game fairly quickly, and with only having a few difficulties with the bosses. I ran into issues, however, when it was time to defend the Bloodtox pump and fight Elizabeth Green. The Bloodtox pump defense took me a good 40 minutes to finally beat. Like with pretty much most missions in this game that involve hunters, they are absolutely relentless and will not stop coming after you, and on hard mode, they hit like a truck, man. The pump also takes absolutely silly amounts of damage from the enemies, making you fail the mission very quickly if you're not alert. Then you had Elizabeth Green, and that was a whole other issue. You see, after defending the Bloodtox pump, you're automatically thrown into the mother boss fight. You also get no option at all to quit out of this fight, back to free roam. And if you never made a separate save before the initial Bloodtox defense mission, then you have absolutely no choice but to beat the boss or start again from the beginning. Now, you guys know from earlier how ridiculous this fight is. Tendril slaps, concrete beams, devastators. Well, when you're like me, with no EP, lacking in the upgrades, and with absolutely no ability to remedy that, this boss fight turned out to be one of the most draining experiences I've had in recent gaming. I shit you not, this fight took me more than 2.5 hours, and that doesn't include the attempts that I made when I wasn't even recording. I genuinely at one point thought I had completely messed up this run and that I was going to have to start again, and because I was so angry, I already decided at that point that I would rather give up on the game than start all the way from the beginning. But really, that probably would have been the better option to do, because there wasn't actually a lot to do apart from just go through the main story again. We did, of course, after hours and hours of struggling both in the game and mentally out of the game, finally beat the mother boss fight, and you have absolutely no idea how happy I was at this point. My mic wasn't on, so unfortunately I have no clip of that moment, but man, I was relieved. I was like literally screaming with happiness. I knew at that point I had already beaten the game. The hardest part for me was over. All that was left was a few missions and one more boss fight before I could get my hands on that final trophy. The missions that were left were very straightforward, and it wasn't long before we were face to face yet again with the Supreme Hunter and our final boss fight. This was, in all honesty, probably the easiest boss fight of my hard playthrough, and that's not even a joke. Not saying that it didn't take me a few tries, because it did. I died a couple of times and ran out of time a few times, but I spent nowhere near the length of time on this fight as I did the Elizabeth Green one. And I actually spent longer on a couple of the other boss fights throughout the game than I did on this one. So yeah, this boss fight was incredibly easy. Anyway, before long, the Supreme Hunter was taken down, once again saving Manhattan and unlocking our final trophy of the game. Come on, have some of that. Come on, we got 1 minute. Come on, we are so close. We can do this now. We can do this. My technique is working. My technique is absolutely flawless. This whip fist is so look at this. Look at this. Bam. Look. That's it. You can try and hit me, but you can't hit me. And I'm just hitting you all day, bro. Please stop teasing me. There we go. Oh my god. It's done. Boys, it's done. Oh my god. Yeah, grow that back. That was Revenge Revisited. There we go. Trophy unlocked. Complete story mode on hard difficulty. I forgot we were getting trophies for a second there. Oh my god. So that means we got the platinum coming up as well. There we go. The platinum trophy. Obtained all of the trophies. My god. That was an excruciatingly painful experience. Oh my god. I love this game, but I hate this game so much. I wanted to do Prototype 2, but now I'm not too sure if that's such a good idea right away. Maybe I should give it a little while. I don't think I can handle the stress. I'll have to see. I'll have to do a little bit more research and find out how much more difficult it actually is. And there you go, guys. That is the end of Prototype. What an insane game. I had an extremely fun time just slashing my way through hordes of infected and squads of military. The powers you get throughout the game are unique and interesting, each offering its own benefit to using it. Although I did find myself pretty much only using 2 of my powers throughout most of the game, but that was just down to personal choice. The combat itself is just quite nice overall, a bit janky here and there sometimes, especially when it comes to using the targeting, as sometimes switching to like a specific target is harder than it should be. But apart from that, I don't really have a bad thing to actually say about it. Very reminiscent of games coming out during that period of gaming, and it was nice to go back and revisit an absolute classic. The story was interesting and keeps you gripped throughout, at least for me it did. You want to find out what the virus is and how to stop it. You want to find out what happened to Alex, and you actively want to go out of your way to consume targets on the web of intrigue to get more information on these things. Not to mention the complete plot twist where, spoiler alert if you didn't really pick up on it, but Alex Mercer is actually dead, and like, you're not actually playing as Alex Mercer, you are playing as the virus that's just using his body as a disguise, like what we do with the various military personnel throughout the game. That is essentially just what the virus is doing, except using Mercer as like a permanent disguise. So yeah, that completely blew my mind, something that I never picked up on back when I played it as a kid, and it's given to you in the main story. Now, do I recommend anyone to play this game? Yes, 100% yes. I promise you that you will not regret it, and once you start playing, you won't be able to stop until you're finished. Now, would I recommend you platinum the game? Nah, not really. Don't get me wrong, I am super proud with what I've achieved, but it was an insanely stressful experience at times, ridiculously long and just ridiculously difficult. Although, if you are up for the challenge, then yeah, okay, go for it. But I would say just go through it, enjoy the story, enjoy the combat. Don't go out of your way for the platinum unless you seriously do want the challenge. Will I do Prototype 2? Of course I will, but give me a little while first, as I don't think I can handle any more stress. But anyway, guys, this brings us to the end of the video. This has been insanely long, longer than any video I think I've uploaded before. So to any of you that are still watching at this point, you are absolute bloody legends. I absolutely appreciate the constant support you guys have been giving me, and you are the reason that I'm able to bring you more content. If you guys never watched it and no one showed interest in any of this, I wouldn't be making this kind of content. So the fact that you guys keep watching, keep showing your support, it honestly, it means the world to me, man. And if you want to keep showing that, please continue to watch the videos, like and share this video around if you can. If you've got any suggestions on games that I should play, leave a comment down below, and I promise I will get around to doing them at some point. I've got a big backlog of games that I need to get through first, but I promise that will be added to the backlog and we will be going through it at some point in time. And of course, if you haven't already and you are up to this point, then why haven't you? Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn notifications on, and you'll be notified as soon as a new video goes live. I hope you guys have a great day. Earn that platinum trophy, 100% all of the achievements on that game. Finish that story, do whatever it is that you're doing, just make sure you're having fun doing it, and I'll see you all in the next video.